Adebola Omolara Adebileje. I attained the professorship cadre in 2016 after coming into Redeemers University as a lecturer too. That was in 2005. And by the grace of God, I, so to say, climbed through the rank to be the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Redeemers University. Like I said, I passed through the rank. I was once a coordinator of the English department when I joined Redeemers University. And from there, I became the coordinator of General Studies unit. And from there, so many responsibilities that I took up. And by the grace of God, I was successful at them. And I became the dean. I was the dean of Faculty of Humanities for like 2 years before I was appointed the Deputy Vice Chancellor. I would describe myself as a quiet person, a child of God, a mother, a grandmother, a pastor, and a teacher. I think I'm first of all a teacher, and I love being a teacher. I became an administrator just by the way, along the line. My core career that I love most is being a teacher. And I want to thank God that I've produced, by the grace of God, good scholars, students. I didn't see myself as becoming a teacher because number one, I'm a timid person. I don't like attention. If you want to be a successful teacher, you must put yourself in the limelight. At least you will face your pupils. But when I got to, I think it was in my Form 1 or Form 2 in my secondary school, I went to Yejide Girls Grammar School at Ibadan. So there was this teacher, my English teacher. She was phenomenal. She may not know it, but that was the impact, influence she had. She had a very strong influence on my life. And it was at that point I decided in my heart that I would want to be like this woman. She dresses well. She drives a very small portable car, and she teaches well. So she was my role model. And from there, I began to, practice teaching. After my secondary school, I went to the Teachers College. From Teachers College, I went to NCE. I had an NCE training. Then from there, I went to University of Ilorin. That's where I had my first degree, my second degree, and I went back there to do my PhD, still on the education line, for me to become the teacher I wanted to be. Glory be to God, I became a teacher. Well, it may not be a general thing. It could be personal. But I believe that teachers, as long as you are teaching somebody, you must try as much as possible to influence that person positively. So God cannot create everybody to become a teacher anyway. So whatever God creates you to become, it starts from somewhere. So if a teacher teaches, especially children, let him or her make himself or herself a positive influence on those children. God knows what he's doing. Through that, children may, choose to become not necessarily a teacher this time. It may be a subject you are teaching that will open their eyes. And from there, their potentials will be activated, and they tend to go after that. So teachers are destiny helpers, so to say. Unfortunately, this time around, you don't find such teachers in that career path. Many are there as a springboard into finding themselves. So you see many teachers that will rather discourage than encourage. My disposition, I want to believe, at the very beginning, you know, meeting me at the first time may give you a wrong impression. You may see me as a quiet, timid, this one non-assuming, and you may take me at that. You won't, you know, I'm talking from my experience now. The male colleagues will not see me as a threat at the beginning. So the resistance may not start immediately. It is through time, with my efforts, with my performance, they will say, where does this one think she's going? And they start. It's a subtle resistance from them. But then, you know, I'm a married woman. I have a husband, and it runs in all men. So if by the grace of God, I am still a wife to my husband, then I have not seen that man that would give me a resistance to what I have planned to be my goal. Do you understand? By the special grace of God, whatever it is that is showing itself as a resistance from anybody, it's either by becoming more friendly, by becoming more, you know, I will try as much as possible to make myself be less intimidating to whatever it is, because it occurs every day. Every day. That natural ego from the male counterpart will want to say, where do you think we are coming from? Where are you going? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, with the wisdom of God, there's a way you behave that will show them that, see, I'm not a threat. Just do your thing and allow me to do mine. So that's how it's been. By the grace of God, since I joined Redeemers University, I've worked with 3 vice-chancellors. The pioneer vice-chancellor, Professor Iwale Tomori, our immediate past vice-chancellor, Professor Adeyewa, Zachariah Adeyewa, and by the grace of God, Professor Anthony Akinlo Enison. The current vice-chancellor is the one I've worked closely with. Although Professor Yewale Tomori was like a he was a father figure to all of us then, because we were not many, we were few. We could count everybody on our fingertips, and I loved his administration then. I would say I started learning administration from him, because I was all out a teacher before I came. But you know, I was the first coordinator, I was the first sub-dean, I was the first hall mistress, I was this, I was that. I discovered I just found myself in so many committees that I was like, but it was teaching I came here to do. Why all this? But through it all, you know, I started saying how to handle human beings, how to, you know, establish systems, decide policies, implement them, and so on and so forth. So I would say Professor Tomori played a very significant role in my life as far as my being an administrator is concerned. I did not work much with Professor Adeyewa than that I was just, you know, running through the cadre that had already been established since Professor Tomori started. So I also learned from him, because Professor Adeyewa taught us how not to be a lazy worker. He will put you on your toes. So whatever you need to do must be done. You know, whether you are sick or not, just he wants performance. So I think I learned that from him. He will not go home until the next day and so on and so forth to get things done. So I think I learned from Professor Adebola how to get things done on time, deliver on time. So I think it's a critical part of being an administrator too. For this current, he has combined so many things. I'm talking about Professor Akinlo now. If you are patient enough, you will learn so much more from him. He's a leader, he's a coach, he's a teacher, he's a man of God. He is a builder. He builds people. I think that's his specialty. He builds people. And even if they told him that this guy is a murderer, that information will not deter him from seeing the best of that murderer. Do you understand? He does not condemn anybody based on whatever information he must have had. So he's a builder. So that is a strong attribute that I've learned from him. So from my experience, I would say that those three men are my mentors. As far as administration is concerned, I've learned so much from them. But if we now look outside the box and we are considering other people, I have some other people that are my role model, but I'm talking about those ones that have more or less directly or indirectly trained me to be where I am today by the special grace of God. Now, women. I have some role models among women that may not necessarily be elderly. My kind of person is that I learn from everybody. I learn from everybody. It is not only elderly people that have, that may say they have experience of life. You discover that even young people, the way they do things, you can do it better and it will give you a better result. I will start from saying that my role model as a child of God has ever been Pastor Mrs. Adebola, whom we fondly call Mommy Gio. Even before we came to Redemption Camp, where Redeemers University took off, I would always look at her in the television. I would want to be in her heart. I would want to see how she thinks, how she will feel, how she attains what she is, I will imagine myself dropping into her heart to live her life for a minute, to at least get at what. So I would say she is my role model as far as Christianity is concerned. And on the academic side, when I was doing my master's degree, I had Dr. Mrs. Lambo. Unfortunately, she resigned from teaching. I had her as my supervisor then at the University of Ilorin. And the way she handled me when we were going through, maybe that was what even influenced my supervision now, when I have students to supervise. Then, in the University of Ilorin is a public school. For the male colleagues, they will come back to the class and say, you can't imagine what I've gone through. Why? Shebi, you took your, see, my work is still in the file. I had to go to the farm. And he will tell us how he had been in his gas farm since morning. Or he went to the mechanic shed to go and look after his supervisor's car, and so on and so forth. But this woman, if we will have to go to her house, in fact, I can't remember going to her house. No, I don't know her house. She will give us the time and she will not fail. She will take us through whatever it is we are finding difficult to. So I would say Dr. Mrs. Lambo was my first role model as far as academics. You will discover that it has been my teachers that have been influencing me all the way through. So when I was younger, much younger in the secondary school, it was one Mrs. Aderoju. And when I got to university for my master's, it was Dr. Mrs. Lambo. She is in Abuja now. I think she got into private business, but she's still doing well. So I have so many others, but that one is significant, and that's why I remember her. It has been by the special grace of God. It has been God all through. But I did not start working immediately I got married. My husband insisted that we are not going to employ any maid. And he would not love a situation where his children will be, kept somewhere and I will be rushing or he will be rushing. So we agreed that we will have our children first. The most I could do while we are having them is to continue my education. So I was, by the grace of God, God gave us children, male and female, and I was attending to them. He was a businessman then. So he rarely stays at home. So I will be the one at home with the children, and I will go to school for my lectures, and I will come back. Luckily enough, my mother-in-law then, we call her Grandma, was there. And we were living in a very large compound. Everybody has his own apartment. So if I'm going to school for lectures, the children would have left for their own school. So I too will leave for school. But if they will come home earlier than I will do, I would have, asked my mother-in-law to please. So by the time I will come, maybe they are eating their lunch, or I will be the one to help them with their assignments until the last one. I joined Run when the last born then was 2 years old. It was then that my husband asked me to, and by that time I had already had my PhD. So it wasn't hard at that point again, because the elderly ones are already in the boarding school. It was this last one, and by the grace of God, he is now in part 3 level, 300 level law. So so I would rather say that planning helped me to be able to, get everything together successfully by the special grace of God. So had it been that I was working when the children, maybe I wouldn't have had it easier as I had it. But by the time I would start full-time work, it was only that one, and she would go to school. And when their school closed, the boss would have brought them. They would drop them in my office, and we would both go home together. So God has been faithful. I believe that when I took up this position, as the Deputy Vice Chancellor, you just have to do whatever the Vice Chancellor asks you to do. You don't have a specific role, so to say. But I want to thank God that many of the committees that I represented the Vice Chancellor in, heading, by the grace of God, we did well, relatively well, better. Because I was able to chair the ceremonial committee, the admission committee, and so many committees like that. But I want to believe that whoever would come after me must try to at least continue with the trend. Because by the grace of God, for ceremonial committee, especially for the convocation program, and which other program are we responsible for? The convocation program, God helped us, and it was like God used our committee to raise the bar for ceremonial committee, because it was that committee that during COVID-19, we still went ahead to conduct the convocation ceremony, which we did online. It was unprecedented. And no matter how the graduates then may feel, at least it was a plus for the university, because it was an innovative convocation, so to say. And for the admission, I would also say that it was quite a historic event that happened, because ever since I became the chair of that committee, God indeed, it was like God broke the doors open and people just started coming. And this last admission was wow, because in the history of Redeemers University, we were able to admit 2,400 candidates, and that one broke everywhere loose, you know, to cater for their hostel accommodation and every other thing. So I would want to consider those two aspects, among others, as a good legacy that we are leaving behind. And we want to encourage whoever comes in to at least, if not higher than that, continue to maintain that state. The simple summation of it all is God. It has been God. If I was hardworking and God did not, He put it in my plan, in His plan for me that I will be here, I won't be here. There are so many people that are more hardworking than I am. So everything, who I am today, what I am today, where I'm coming from, has been God. God, all through and through, it has been God. And I return all glory to His holy name. So it has been God. My health, my wisdom, my strength, provision, everything. I don't believe in connection. No, I don't. And if I see that you are trying to make yourself relevant so that you can be part of, the history of how I'm made, I will try and play down, because it is God. And I want God to continue like that with me. It has been God.